Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Progress with number 25 in the series Viewers Games. This one is from Quebec, from Canada, and it is Alexander who writes to me. Hi Rick, I previously sent you one of my games full of blunders and a very short one too. Yes, that is a game that Alexander sent me in February 2017. And he said, I realized afterwards that it wasn't such a good game, so I decided to show you this one instead. I felt like white was winning for the whole game until I managed to get my footing in the late middle game and miraculously won. Hope you enjoy this one, and cheers from Quebec, Alexander. Let's have a look at Alexander's game. It was a 5-minute game, 5 minutes for each player on chess.com. And the white player is Mihai from Romania, and black is our hero Alexander from Canada. Mihai opened f4, the bird's opening. Alexander played c5 and to e4, transposing to a Sicilian opening. Knight c6 from Alexander, and here already a novelty on move 3 and not a very good novelty. Mihai played h3. While a move like knight f3 is the most common move. e6, knight f3, d5, e5, bishop e7, d3, and c4. Not a bad move, but white is already in trouble here because that early h2, h3 push. Here Alexander could have struck with bishop h4 check. And if you take that bishop, the queen takes, and the king has to move. After king e2 there's a very annoying move, knight d4 check. After king d2 instead there's the also very annoying queen takes f4 check. So black could already have got a big advantage here with the bishop h4 check move. And all that because the h-pawn is already on h3. If that h-pawn was on h2, then g2, g3 would have been possible, kicking the bishop back. But okay, in the game Alexander played c4, g4 from white, c takes d3, c takes d3, and bishop b4 check. Now a very odd move from white. Instead of a move like bishop d2, developing a piece, shielding the check, white played with his king, king e2, played after 6 seconds. Odd move. Knight ge7 from Alexander, a3, kicking the bishop, bishop a5, and b4, kicking the bishop again, bishop c7, and now played after 1 second. Not an easy move to guess. Yes, king back to e1. Let's look at white's play. Of course he has lost his castling rights, but he has no safe place for his king anyway. And this is because he has mainly played pawn moves so far in the first 12 moves of the game. He did not develop his pieces. Alexander castled. He finishes the development like he should. Bishop e2, finally bringing a piece into play. Knight g6, queen c2, and an excellent move from Alexander, f6. If your opponent is underdeveloped and has his king in the middle, you have to try and open the position, try and open lines, and that's what Alexander does here. b5 from white, bishop a5 check, and there goes the king again, king d1, while bishop d2 would have been more logical. Knight ce7, retreating the knight from the attack. a4, another pawn move. F takes e5 and f takes e5, and now Alexander has successfully opened the f-file for his rook. Bishop c7, attacking the e5 pawn. Mihai protects it with d4. Bishop d7, bishop e3, and a6. Again a move to try and break up the pawn structure to give black an open file for his rook. Knight c3, a takes b5, and here, after making a number of strategical mistakes, here is a big tactical mistake from white. He took on b5 with the bishop, leaving his knight on f3 unprotected. Alexander did not see it, he did not take on f3. Alexander, you did excellently to open that f-file, and this was a moment to make use of that open f-file. He took back on b5 with the bishop after 3 seconds. Knight takes b5, and again Alexander could have taken on f3, but after 3 seconds he played knight c6. In chess we call this mutual chess blindness. Both players don't see that that knight on f3 is unprotected. White plays knight c3, and Alexander plays knight b4, and the irony here is that black now almost forces white to protect his knight. The queen is attacked and the queen went to g2, and now knight f3 is protected. Knight d3, even though black didn't win that piece on f3, he's still much better, and it has a lot to do with white's king position. In the middle of the board, no pawn protection. And it's asking for trouble. King d2, knight d f4, attacking the queen. Queen went to g3, bishop a5, mobilizing his pieces to attack the white king. Good play from Alexander. The knight on c3 is pinned to the bishop. Mihai played king c2 on pinning the knight, but after queen c7 the knight is pinned again. Instead of queen c7, Alexander had a nice tactical shot here. He could have taken the knight anyway, because after the king takes back there is knight e2 check with a nice fork on king and queen. After queen c7, Mihai played bishop d2, queen c4, bringing the queen closer to white's king, king d1, just giving up the protection of the knight, and Alexander now gives a few checks before taking that piece. Queen b3 check, king e1, knight d3 check, king f1, and now he takes the knight on c3. Rook d1 from Mihai, completely overlooking that that rook is en prise on d1. Alexander took it, king g2, and here was a quick checkmate for Alexander, which he did not see. Queen e2 check, king g1, bishop takes d4 check, and if you take that bishop, rook f1 is checkmate. Instead, Alexander took on a4. He's still easily winning. Bishop takes c3, wins back a piece it looks, but his problems are far from over. Queen comes back into the attack on c2. Bishop d2. Rook a2. All his pieces are now coming in to deliver the checkmate. Rook f1. Knight gf4 check from Alexander. King h1. Knight e2. Queen g2. Knight ef4. That knight was taken on f4, but queen takes g2 was checkmate. Blundering that checkmate in one move didn't really matter. Black was totally winning anyway. Let's quote Alexander again. He said, "I felt like white was winning for the whole game until I managed to get my footing in the late middle game and miraculously won." Well, Alexander, white was never winning. You were winning from the start. Even that h3 move on the third move was already a bad move from white, and you could have taken advantage of that earlier. White was never winning, and your win was very good and definitely not miraculous. White really needs to brush up on his fundamentals of strategy and tactics. And I was surprised to see that white had a higher rating than you did, Alexander. Well played, good game. You played really well, and I think the only problem with games like this is that there is not much to learn from it for the black player, for Alexander in this case. He played really well, but white made it very easy for him, and there are no pointers really to give to black. Nevertheless, a good game, well played Alexander, and thank you for sharing the game. Hope you enjoyed Alexander's adventure in this game. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the Chess 2 Progress channel. Please leave a comment, and it would be great if you could share the video on social media by clicking the share button on YouTube. You also may want to check out my Chess 2 Impress channel. The link is in the description box. This is Rick from Chess 2 Progress. Thank you very much for watching.